Hey, it's been a bit of time, but welcome back to Blender for Designers. I saw I got more than a few subscribers since last time, so thanks to everyone that subscribed. It's really great. This week we'll be doing another bit of packaging, a potato chip style bag. Of course, we're going to be a bit healthier and do fake popcorn rather than fake potato chips. So let's look at the die lines here. This is the die line we're going to be laying out. And let me just turn off the art for a sec, because I want to show you kind of how a potato chip bag really works before we get into this. So this is this is sort of the main panel, and these are the two back panels. And the way it works is they actually seal together. So what you can see they do is they print a long strip of the artwork kind of repeating, and then they start to seal it in the back. Then the food is inserted into the bag. And you can see these guys actually have a clear bag, so you can really see what's going on. And so it gets inserted, and then it's sealed. And you can see it kind of actually looks almost like a little row of sausages. And so it's basically these bags with the seals, and then the seals are cut off right in the middle. Going back to the die lines, you can see those seals that I was talking about are actually this top and the bottom, and it gets cut off right in the middle. And then the back seal I was talking about, this actually goes in and overlaps this. So you never see anything on here. All right, so let's plug the art back in there. So you can see this is going to be the back left, this is going to be the back right. And then let's do what we always do, which is we're going to export a PNG from here. So we're going to call it Blender Popcorn, and then very critically we have to use artboards, and we're going to call this with die since we're leaving the die lines in. And then 150 is fine, and make sure we have a white background so we can kind of see what we're doing, and we'll hit OK. All right, so let's pop into Blender here. So as usual, we're going to switch to cycles. We're going to remove the default light, and we're going to take the default cube and call it bag. So let's go into front mode by hitting num key 1. All right, and then let's bring up our little tray here on the right by hitting the N key. And let's go actually figure out, I'm going to go back into Illustrator to figure out what our dimensions really are, and we'll go with that. So I have another layer here called measurements. So here they are. So it looks like the face is 9.1875 inches, and the height is going to be 14.5 inches. And the depth we're just going to kind of eyeball. And yes, there's millimeters on here too, but I'm an American, so we're going to use our stupid imperial units. So let's look at, okay, so the width is 9.1875. So let's just do that in Blender units. So go away. 9.1875. Boop. And the height, which is Z, is going to be, let me look at that, it's 14.5. So 14.5. So in some ways I actually find this a bit big. Let's just divide these by 2. So everything will be a Blender unit, divide by 2. Okay, so that's our basic dimensions. So let's go back to num key 1 to the front, 5 for orthographic view, and I'm going to hit the Z key to get an outline like this. And now we're going to go ahead and bring the die lines in so we can see kind of how it forms to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the background images. Here we go. So we're going to turn them on, and then we're going to add an image. And so we're going to do that. And then we're going to open an image. Okay, open image. All right, so there you can see it. It's kind of in the background. Actually, I want to leave it only on front view, and I want to leave it behind. That's good. Okay, so we're actually, you see, now we're just going to rescale it to about the right size. So these are the, zoom these out, X and Y, and then this is the size. So we're going to use all 3 of those to get it into the right size. So it looks like the size needs to go up a bit. So we can see, yeah, there we go. Yeah, perfect. So you can see it's centered, but now we got to get it. So we're going to adjust the Y value to get it like right there. So you can see it's actually a perfect size. So you can see exactly where all the seals and everything are going to be. So now I'm just going to save the file because God forbid we lose this thing. Hit OK. All right, great. So now we got that. Let's start manipulating this thing. So as you can see, this does not look at all anything like a potato chip bag, but that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually create little loop cuts where we're going to have to go into edit mode to do that first. So hit tab to go into edit mode, hit A to unselect everything, and then I'm going to hit Control R to create these little loop cuts, and we're going to create 2 of them, and then I'm going to just hit the right key because I didn't want to move them, but what I do want to do is scale them in Z, so we go right to the seals, and then the seals are not even, the top seal is bigger than the bottom seal. Sometimes that happens, so Shift Option right click to get that loop cut, and you can see I'm going to bring it down a bit, but I'm going to use the front view here to bring it down to right where the seal is. So that's really interesting. We haven't done a damn thing yet, but the thing we know is that the seals are going to be way more, we're going to be really close together, and then the other ones are not. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit the A key to select everything. I'm going to scale on Y to make this all pretty thin because we want to, but then the seals are going to be really thin. But before we do that, let's go back to the front view, and then I'm going to find out kind of where the angle of this goes. So I'm going to create 2 more seals, 2 more loop cuts, and then I'm going to scale them in Y. Scale them in Y. I'm going to scale them in Z. I apologize, Z. Z. See, I'm going to go right to about there. Actually, I probably want to go a little bit lower. But so actually, the idea behind these is they're usually provided to show, you don't really that's going to be kind of where the sides are-ish. It's never really totally predictable, but the idea is you don't want to put really any important copy there, but it also actually helps give us a guide as we make this bag. So then what we're going to do is I'm going to hit, I just suddenly found myself in there. There's probably a shortcut. I don't know it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top seals, don't do that, and I'm going to scale them. Don't get rid of that. So I just want the top seals. That's not the top seal. So I'm going to scale those, scale in Y, so I can make those really, really thin. Yep, there we go. Nice seals. And then you can see these guys are not so thin. So I'm going to take these 2 loops, and I'm going to scale them in X. So you actually sort of start to see, I'm going to go out of here, that we have something approximating a potato chip bag. We're not there yet by any means, but we are getting close. But you can see where the shape is going to come from. But actually, an even better idea is to go into our modifiers. So we're going to tab, so we're already in object mode, perfect. So we're going to go over to modifiers, and we're going to add a subdivision surface, and I realized, so you can see, still looking nothing like a potato chip bag, but hey, at least it's a bit rounder now. And we're going to smooth everything out, and then obviously we need to fix this because this is just crazy. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the freaking grid off because I do not need it. So we're going to take that grid flow off, and then I'm going to tab back into edit mode, and now I'm actually going to use solid mode. So we're going to just loop cut the hell out of this so we get these nice, much more straight looking seals. Boop. And then we actually sort of have a bag-ish thing. And you can see it, this is way too perfect right now. We're going to wrinkle it up a bit, but you can see kind of where this goes. And we can take these 2 loop cuts, and we can kind of play, we can kind of scale in an X a little bit, and then we can actually make it look bulgier by scaling in Y. So yeah, you can see it's kind of a bit bulgier. And usually stuff falls to the bottom, so sometimes it's nice to take this one and just move it down just a wee bit, and then maybe play with it a bit more later. But yeah, that's actually kind of the basic shape of the potato chip bag. All right, so let's figure out how we're going to get the art on this thing. First of all, let's just scale Y, make it a little bulgier. And then, so what we're going to need to do is it comes right in the middle, so we're going to need to add a little loop cut there. So, but actually, let's figure out exactly where it goes. So I'm going to go to front view again, but actually I'm going to go hit Control 1 and go to back view. And then I'm going to hit Z to go to there. Actually, I'm going to turn off the subsurf for a sec. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to add yet another image. But it's going to be the same image, but in a different position. So you can take the popcorn with dyes, perfect. And I'm actually going to use the same scale factor. which is 11. And let me bring this back up, and let me put it only on the back view, because that's all we need it for. And I'm going to copy the height and the scale, but I'm going to put the width at a slightly different point so that it matches the back seals rather than the front ones. The left side, so this actually tells us, the reason we went through all that is because it tells exactly where the seal is. And the seal is going to be here. Remember, this overlaps the other seal. And so this is where the side is. So perfect. We're going to go... So actually we're going to go tab into edit mode, and then we're going to cut a loop cut right here down the middle. And then actually, yeah, and we don't need the front, we just need the back here. So we're going to undo the front. So we're only going to get rid of all these. Boop, 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 boop. Because I want to keep that set front and centered. It's annoying sometimes trying to unselect all these. But we're going to do it just like this. Yeah, it's all on the back. Okay, perfect. So Control 1 again. And then we're just going to move this over. Yep, until it hits... Actually, that's not the seal. The seal's right there. Perfect. So that's just the mark where the seal hits, but the actual dividing is there. Okay, and so while we have this selected like that, we actually want to mark this as a seam. So we're going to go to UVs and mark seam, because that's where the seam needs to be. So all that selecting was not wasted time. I actually had to do it for a reason. I'm going to go to Z so I can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to unseam the top here. So, you know, you seam that, and then we're actually going to take the whole top. Do a little divider now. And we're going to seam that out, mark seam, and then we're going to go to the bottom. And we're going to do the same thing. Hit A to unselect everything first. And that's actually it. Okay, cool, mark seam. We don't need a seam on that, but whatever. Actually, that's exactly, I'm going to get rid of that middle, because we don't need that. So we're going to clear seam there. And then we're going to go to the top again. And we're going to clear that seam. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to hit 1. So you can see that. All right, cool. And we can actually probably turn off the... Well, let's just leave it there. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to turn the subsurf back on so we can kind of see what this looks like. Go back to 1. I'm going to split the view again so we can do our little UV unwrapping, and that's not splitting the view. This is splitting the view. All right, so we're going to TN to get this clean. And we're actually going to take that same image. So, we're going to want a UV image editor. Yep, there we go. And we're going to take that same image we had, which is Blender Popcorn with dyes, and we're going to start unwrapping that. All right, so what I want to do is wrap this with this. So let's create a node editor here. And actually, since I was messing around before, I've already got a material on here, and I already called it bag. And so you can see it's right here, material. And so what we want to do is get this texture onto here. So we're going to add a texture, image texture. It's an image, but it's a texture. Just call add image, but you know, whatever. So you plug it in here, and you got this really screwed up thing. And that's because I've already messed around with this so far, and I have a messed up wrap. So, but we're going to do the correct wrap, and I'll show you how to do that. But first, let's actually go into materials so we don't get, into solid so we don't get distracted. And then we're going to tab into edit mode, and then, you know, generally when you're wrapping stuff, you want to be in face mode. So I'm going to do that. And right now, every face is wrapped on here, but that's not what we want. So what I want to do is I want to actually get rid of the very top and very bottom. So to do that, I'm going to hit 7 to get to the top. And there's only 2 faces on top, so I'm going to unselect them. Then I can hit Control 7 to get to the bottom. And again, there's only 2 faces, so I'm going to unselect them. And I'm going to pause this while I deal with my cough. And I'm back. Just a bit of hay fever there. So we're going to go to front mode, hit 1 to do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a cylindrical unwrap. So unwrap, cylinder projection. And it's not really a cylinder, but it kind of wraps around like one. And you can kind of treat it like that. So as usual with cylinder projection, it's like totally messed up looking, but we'll just scale it back down to normal space. And then I'm going to shift spacebar to zoom way in. And you can actually see these kind of correspond to the die lines, and they'll correspond a lot more once we get done with this. So first of all, I'm going to go to the very top here, and I'm going to, because this is actually the right point here, and I'm going to zoom pretty far in, and I'm going to go ahead and set the 2D cursor right there. And then I'm going to scale to the 2D cursor. I'm going to go here, and we're going to get this scale in Y, so we can get it to fit the die lines. And then I'm going to scale in X quite a lot, because, God knows how this does this thing. So scale X. Okay, good. Yeah, so I want to line the second bit up right there. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so then we got to deal with all this stuff doing its thing. And I know that the cutoff happens here and it happens here. So let's deal with this first. You can actually use, it's like a loop cut, so we can actually select it like one with a shift option right select. And then it all wants to be a straight line, so we just do, so we actually first off take the scale the median point and then do scale X0. Boom, and so you get a straight line. And then GX to move in X, and we move that right here. We're going to do the very same thing here. Scale X0, GX, and that actually about works. Yeah. Surprisingly well. And then we can, so let's actually see how that's going to look. So we hit shift space, and then let's go into material. So yeah, actually that's wrapping quite a bit right. Yeah, you can see that that's doing its thing. And we can tweak these guys a little bit depending on how puffy we want this to be. Because actually I think this is maybe getting a little too puffy. So let's go back to, oh, I don't know, those are red, but whatever. Scale X, scale Y. So we just make this a little bit less puffy, and then actually that'll allow us to, let's go back to here, and that'll allow us to take these and then just scale them in a little bit. Scale, not even the whole thing. We just need to do just these things. So we just scale in X just a little bit, and you remember you're just doing it mostly by eyeball. Scale in X just a little bit so you can get a nice, yeah, so you can kind of see the whole thing's there. All right, cool. And then we should probably wrap the top and the bottom. It's not that particularly critical, but we can go do that. Let's go back into face mode. Let's select the top, and then we can just project. So project from view, and then let's do the bottom. Deselect first. Project from view. Perfect. All right, and then we're gonna hit A and A. All right, so we can see where our top and bottom is. Let's go back here. This is the top. That's the bottom. Boop, that's the bottom. I believe that's the bottom. Let's double check that. Actually, it's a good question. Let's double check. Was that the bottom? Yep, that's the bottom. All right, so let's put it at the bottom. And this should be the top then. It doesn't matter. You just kind of want the colors to be kind of the same as the top and the bottom. So like, just move this on here and then scale it out next a little bit, and then yeah, that's fine. So you just kind of want, if you bleed over, if you have like colors on your seams, you just want them to kind of match what you have on the rest of it. So because it's only the tops and the bottoms, and you're barely gonna see them anyway. All right, so let's go back to here. So let's take a look at our lovely little wrapped thing. All right, cool. So let's actually, let's zoom that in 100%. And yeah, so you can see we actually have basically the correctly wrapped. All right, so what we want to do now is head back into Illustrator and take out the die lines. So take measurements off and die lines off. Die lines too? Yes, die lines. So, okay, so export, and we'll just call this Blender Popcorn. Remember, absolutely critical to use the artboards because we want to keep that. I want to keep the size the same all the time. So great. 150 is fine. Hit OK. And again, it takes a few minutes on my computer sometimes. But we're going to go back into Blender, and then we're going to get out of here. We're going to go back into the texture mode, and we're going to open Blender Popcorn 01, so we don't have the die lines anymore. Woohoo! All right, so now the deal we have to do is we got to get those kind of fun lines in the top and the bottom that kind of really define popcorn. So to do that, we're going to go back into Illustrator again. And we're actually going to create a new layer. We're going to put the die lines back on because we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to call it Bump. I'm gonna call it BMP for bump. And then so the way a bump map works is that you have a gray, you have a gray background, which means 0, and you have white, which means it raises up, and black, which means it raises down. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a solid gray thing, and actually for that very reason, I'm actually going to do another layer, and I'm going to call this BMP gray. And I'm actually going to put these both at the very bottom. But keep the die lines on, of course. So let's do bump gray. And then this is going to be, we're actually going to bring color up here. And so we want an RGB total gray. So no black there. And we want 128, 128, 128. So 80, 80, 80. All right, and then we're going to make that. Like, you don't have to be exact, but it's just going to be right here. All right, so now I'm going to lock bump gray and go into bump. And what I want to do is I want to create these wrinkle lines. So I'm going to make a stroke of black. And I'm just going to create a line across. Great. And then we're going to take the stroke. I'm going to bring the stroke palette up. I'm going to take the stroke and maybe make this 2 or 3. And then I'm going to hide and use the the white arrow, just so you don't, so it's still selected, but I can't see it. So now I'm going to go into Effect, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and I'm going to use about 10. Actually, maybe I'll do like 14. There you go, into 12. See, that's why you do this there, that way. Okay, cool. Actually, let's go back to 14. All right, and so this is yeah, 14 looks good. Okay, so what you do is, what's great about this is you can just then duplicate this and then hit Command D, D. So basically you have, yeah, the whole thing there, the whole shebang goes. And you can do it one more time because it can go out. It can go out. And actually, yeah, that's the reason. So now I'm going to unhide this so we can actually see them a little bit better and go right about there. And then we want some down here too, but of course not as many, just a couple. We could delete them, or we can just let them fly off the rails. I like letting them fly off the rails. So one thing nice is you can always, as long as you're not selecting the die lines, shrink these down just a wee bit. Okay, cool. So we got the little bumps there. All right. So now what we want to do is address the seal area. So that these go down a bit, but the seal, this actually overlaps this. So we want to capture that. So what we want to do is we want to create a box, and we want to make it white. But actually, we don't want to make it, I'm bringing the transparency, because I was going to say, we don't want to make it 100% white. So we're going to go to 50. And then that's going to cover, this bit here. I'm going to overlap a bit because you don't actually get that area. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to make, so actually what we can do, so we can be even fancier now, is we're going to grab, sorry, I'm just grabbing my palettes here with the appearance here, and then I'm actually going to take that back to 100. But then what we're going to do is I'm going to make the fill, the opacity be like around 50, and then we're going to put a stroke here of also white, and then we're going to make the stroke fill of about 75. And then so we have basically, you can see, I'm going to bring it out here, so you have like a bit more of a white line. I'm going to have more stroke though. So it looks like it actually rises up a little bit at the edges. And then I'm going to blur it too. Effect, blur, Gaussian blur. And not quite 14, we're going to do more like 8. And then I'm actually going to take the measurements out. And so yeah, we're going to bring that in there a little bit so it actually looks, so it starts to raise up a little bit as the seal goes. Yeah, but it still captures a little bit of this. In fact, actually, I think I'm going to turn down the opacity to maybe like 30. And this to maybe like 60. Yeah, so you can still see a bit of that come through. All right, and then actually what usually happens in chip bags is that the seal kind of wrinkles stuff a little bit, so there's going to be a bunch of wrinkliness here. And I'm not going to totally reproduce that. I'm actually going to steal this from an old thing I had. So this is actually, I'm going to steal this over, and we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to call this like, bump 3 or whatever, BMP3, and then paste it in there. So what this actually is, and I'm going to go bring yet another palette, the gradient palette. Let's go put that on appearance. So what it actually is these 3, I'm going to zoom way in so we can kind of see what it's doing. They're going to group right now, and we have we're going to ungroup them. We're going to ungroup them so we can see that. I have a blur on them, and it's basically 3 triangles, and one's a gradient, gradient from white to gray, and the others are gradient from black to gray. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to take them, and I'm going to go put them along like kind of here, and I'm going to kind of just mess with them a bit. I'm not going to do it exactly. I'm going to kind of have like different things and different heights, because you don't really want this to look too, regular. You might even rotate them a bit, and then just get a couple of these there, and maybe you stretch this out even further, put it over here, and then we can get another one in here. So you basically just kind of want to get this messy thing here, and so we're gonna lock that. So we just have these again, and we're gonna reverse these and put them on the bottom too. All right, cool. So we got this kind of messiness a bit, and actually I think they're coming out a little hard, so I'm actually gonna maybe just, they're 80% opacity. Let's go to 70, or maybe 60. So just a little bit less. It didn't really make much of a difference, did it? It's whatever. So okay, now you gotta take the dielines off, and then we're gonna export this image. So export. And, we're going to call it Blender Popcorn BUMP. And that's at 150. Whoops. So we notice we did not do the artboards. That's actually really, really important. So UMP. Use artboards. Yay, there we go. Now it's right. Okay, cool. Said okay. All right, so now back into Blender, we got to plug it into our material slots here. So we're going to open the material again, and we're going to add another image texture. In fact, so add a texture, image texture, and then this one we're going to be the bump. And then we actually want a bump map here. So the way we do that is add a vector bump. Boop, so it comes from bump to normal. So that's perfect. So we go. So we're going to actually do non-color data, but we're going to bring color in there anyway. And we're going to bring height. And then we turn the normal, plug the normal into normal. So we do that, and we see absolutely nothing because we're still in material mode. So to get out of material mode, you want to do into render mode to actually see something, but we have no lights on. So we're going to actually have to set up some lights. So let's go back to material for a sec so we can get some speed. We're going to set up an environment map. And we're going to use nodes. Let's go back here. We're going to add a texture, a environment texture. And I happen to have a nice little environment texture somewhere around here. Yeah, here we go. I'll show you in a minute. And then since we want to rotate it and have some fun with it, let's go to input, texture coordinates, vector mapping. And this will allow us to rotate our texture and mess around with it. So back here, boop, and we're gonna hit Shift Z to go, oh, there we go, into render mode. Of course, we are in orthographic mode, so we can't see a damn thing. But there we go, there's the background, and you can kind of, sort of, but not really see well, you can see a little bit of a bump in there. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. It's certainly a there thing. But I'm actually going to make it even more obvious. And the way we're going to do that is I'm actually going to go back here, and I'm going to go into my material, and we're going to actually add a gloss here. So a shader glossy, and roughness we're going to do 0.1, and then we're going to mix the roughness. Oh, and we want a normal on that. We're going to mix the roughness and the diffuse, but so we're bringing a mix shader. But we're not going to mix them with just a factor. We're going to actually mix them with something kind of cool called a layer weight, which actually allows it to do it Fresnelishly. So we're going to go to 0.2. Actually, we're going to go to 0.3. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. So we're going to go out of there, and we're going to hit Shift Z to go back into rendered mode. So yeah, you can kind of see a little bit of reflection. Yeah, and you can see, because the Fresnel, you see the reflection, kind of, see where that 3D cursor is about. Move that over. It's more reflective over there, and you can kind of see it's reflecting. I actually kind of want to think I'm going to bump up the map here a little bit. You can barely see that. But you can see it's there. But yeah, I think I'm actually going to increase. Yeah, you can just put a curves in there. Just increase its strength. Yeah, it seems weird that it's not really. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that helps. Oh, distance? Oh, distance helps. Woo, okay. Actually take this curves out. Good to have fewer things rather than... Yeah, so maybe 0.4. So actually, you know, that's the distance that it goes. And you can see a little bit of wrinkling in there. And you see a lot of seal thing there. Which is good, because that's what you want. But, you know, one thing you do notice about real potato chips is they, you know, they're not quite so even. There's quite a bit of bumpy and randominess things there. So let's make that happen. It's funny, I tried to do it in a normal map or a bump map, but it didn't work very well. So I think the best bet is to do it with geometry, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's go back here now. And let's go actually into material mode so we can see this a little bit better. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to do a displacement texture on the seals. And we just want to do it on the seals. So what we're going to do is we're going to go straight on now. And we're going to go into edit mode. And I'm actually going to hit Z. Let's get the vertices. So we're going to select all of these. So it's just the seals. And we're going to create a little vertex group. And that vertex group, these are vertex groups, we're going to call seals. And we're going to hit assign. And then so I'm going to double check that I assigned it correctly. So I'm going to hit select. Yep, that is correct. And then we're going to do another thing, which is going to select the body here. And we're going to create a vertex group, and we're going to call that body. And we're going to assign that, and we're going to check that, select it, good. All right, so what we're going to do is we want to displace it, but we want to displace it in different vertex groups. So so let's take a look at that. Let's go to the modifiers, and let's displace. So let's do a seal displacement. Let's put a displace here. Let's start with a body displacement. So we want to displace all the stuff in there. So I'm actually going to add another subdivision, and then I'm going to add a displace modifier. Displace. And so you see it gets kind of crazy. So we only want to displace the body so far to kind of create some wrinkles. So what we're going to do is we're going to select only the vertex group body, and then we're going to create a texture. And then, woo, there's just some stuff going on here. Don't worry, we'll make this look right. So we want to take that texture, and we might as well turn the strength down to 0.2 or something, just so we can get some sort of semblance of sense out of this thing. All right, so you can actually click this little icon here to go edit your texture, and it actually wants to do a movie, but we do not want a movie. We want a Voronoi. And so, oh yeah, you can see now it actually looks quite a bit better. It's kind of wrinkling, but we want a more like wrinkly. Like we want it to look kind of like more like a, you know, more crinkled on the sides, and you know, less like that. So actually, the best way to do that is there's various features you can tweak around, and I'd encourage you to play with them. But I found that like reducing 4 a lot, and then I think reducing 2 and 3. I'm gonna mess with this a bit. Maybe increasing 3, because basically, and then and increasing the size quite a bit. So you can see, you actually sort of see this in real time. So oh yeah, there we go. So you can see these kind of more like real crinkles, and then we can increase the intensity. bring up 2. Yeah, so now we have more like real crinkles. And if you want to adjust it slightly, you can hold the shift key down to adjust. Anything works like that. So yeah, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Just a little bit of a bit of a crinkliness to it. So it feels more like a crinkly thing. And then we can obviously adjust the intensity, which changes how far out it's pushing. In fact, another thing we can do to change how far out it's pushing is go back to our displace modifier and change the mid-level. So we can push out or push in. And we can, of course, tweak the strength, how much we're displacing. So, and this is happening to real geometry. It's not, so you can actually see it happens, it like occludes, it will block things. So this is, so if we go into Z, you can see that there's a lot of real geometry that's really being displaced here. So that's cool. And you can see it, it kind of shows up there. And it helps if we do not be in orthographic mode. So that's cool. And I always think this is always way too wide of an angle lens. So I'm going to go to 50 millimeter lens so I can actually see what the hell I'm doing. So yeah, you can see it's already kind of messing stuff up. But although it can kind of mess the geometry, it's the problem is it can kind of mess your UV unwrapping a little bit. So you do get that, which is unfortunate. But yeah, you can just go back to the texture here. You can hit this button, and you can play with the size, play with the intensity. So it's going in or it's going out, and then maybe turn this back a little bit so it's a little lighter. Turn the intensity down. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. I mean, you got the USD organic's a little weird, but and you can play with the there's ways to play with the positioning too, but we're not going to get there. So actually, let me increase the size a lot actually. Yeah, so sort of whatever ends up looking good, just gonna kind of just mess it up a little bit. It's always a good thing. Let's go back to here, and mess with the strength. All right, so now, but we see that the seals are still too much, and we can't just put a displacement on them because it's gonna look, it's gonna like they're so thin they kind of interfere with themselves. So we have to put a separate displacement. So we're gonna put another displace. Displace. Okay, and then boom! Ooh, that's crazy. So now we want to do only the seals. And we're going to create another texture. Yay. And then we'll just go into here, and we'll use like it's actually a different texture. You can see that there's texture in texture 1. But we're going to bring back some of 4 because you kind of want to just mess around with it a bit, and kind of want to be less so, and then definitely drop down the size. But yeah, okay, this is all really, really stupid looking. And drop down the intensity here. It's all really stupid looking. So we want to just way back on the strength, like way back, like 0.05, something like that. So yeah, you can see now it's just bulging a little bit. And actually, the other trick is to only do this in Z. Because all you need is to go up and down. You don't need it to go like back and forth and left and right. So yeah, that's cool. So we can just tweak the strength a little bit, and it's just going in Z. So now it gives you a nice little crazy bulge there. Because if you do it in all the coordinates, the normal, it just kind of bulges in a weird way. You can see it actually looks okay, but yeah, you kind of have to give too much. So I just do it in Z. So yeah, that kind of feels like it's more like, yeah, you kind of get this waviness, and then of course you can go into the texture editor and play around with the size and the intensity, and different features you can add, subtract, just kind of. And there's lots of different textures. You can use a cloud texture. Let's see what that looks like. You can use a cloud texture. It's a different kind of look. And then, you can play with that size, kind of, really get some craziness there. But, I'm going to stick with the Voronoi here. Yeah, I kind of like Voronoi. Yeah, it's kind of more of a different kind of organic texture. It feels more like, let's drop the size maybe a little bit so we get some more waviness. And then, I don't know, you can change the strength down. Actually, let me just, strength is way too high. 4. And then, actually, I want to change, because I don't like this bump there. I'm going to go back and change the intensity a bit, and then the size going down a bit. Because you want kind of a lot of little details in there. Well, let's drop 2, increase 1. Yeah, that's nice. That's cool. And then even drop the size even more. You can mess with this forever. And then let's go back here and just up the strength just a bit. Okay, cool. So now we got a nice little, it feels like it's wrinkly. Yeah, because it feels like, a machine hit it and it's heat sealed it and it did some craziness. So that's, and then we can probably actually create a little bit more displacement here. Just so we can kind of see it a bit better. This isn't the best lighting ever, so actually go. Yeah, so you can kind of see how that works. Ooh, that's why we didn't do that way? Okay, I see. Just undoing here. Undo is the best thing in the world. So there, we have a good potato chip bag. And then actually I want to show you guys the thing where we did the background that actually looks, let's say, compositing, let's go to the background. So where we do the just the white background, but we light it with the other background. So so let's do a mix shader, and then background. We do a pure white, and then we mix that using a light path. And so if it's a camera ray, it becomes white. If it's not, yeah, there we go. And we can, increase the strength of this a little bit to maybe 2. Maybe 1.4. Yeah, there we go. And we can, rotate this around. Rotate this around so we get different reflections. Maybe we want more. If we want more reflections too, we can change the reflectivity of it. So right now we have 0.3. We can go to 0.5. Yeah, there we go. That's quite shiny, but maybe 0.4. Yeah, that's cool. All right, so you got a bag there. Yeah, and I can really like this in a minute, but yeah, you got it. You got a potato chip bag, and you got nice little wrinkles here. You can kind of see the wrinkles there. All right, so you got this potato chip bag, but one thing I want to play with is, some not really that happy with the way the displacement's happening. It's not quite sharp enough. I mean, it's kind of cool, but so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and sculpt this thing. So I'm going to turn off the displacements, and I'm actually going to even turn off the subsurf. And I'm going to actually add a modifier that we use for sculpting, and that is called I don't even know where the hell it went. It's called a here we go. Multi-resolution modifier. And then so we're going to subdivide. We had 3 subdivisions, so we're going to do that again. And then I'm going to go into sculpt mode. And now, usually what happens is it starts to wrinkle around these corners as it kind of folds in. And luckily, there's a brush made just for this, and they call it the crease brush. And so you can change the radius up about here. Actually, going to put it down a bit, and then you want to subtract. So we want to use our middle mouse button to move around, and then the left mouse button to kind of actually do the sculpting. So we're going to aim at this, and we don't want it symmetried. We do not want symmetry because it's not an animal. It's we don't want to mirror anything. We want to do kind of, each of them kind of has their own little look and feel. So let's just start crinkling this thing up. Yeah, there you go. See, that looks nice. And then, yeah, let's do one down here too. Again, you don't want them too, you don't want them too nice because, things just sort of crinkle a little bit. And you put one back here. And then probably want to use a tablet for this, but my tablet's at work. So yeah, that's cool. So we just kind of, you kind of get those edges and kind of give them a little shine there. Maybe lower the radius even more. Kind of really dig in there. Take a bit here. Yeah, there we go. So you can kind of see, you're just sort of crinkling this thing up. And the same out of subdivisions. So, and then we can actually, we can pull this away. I believe, yeah, F grab. Okay, cool. So, Yeah, so we can just kind of grab, this is actually kind of like the liquefy tool in Photoshop. Mess that, woo, that's kind of cool. So yeah, it's actually kind of cool to just add a little, you know, especially around the edges, because it's the edges that get really kind of crazy. Speaking of edges, actually, it's not a bad idea. Maybe we can go back into edit mode, and we can just bring this up just a little bit, because it feels like it's kind of bulging, just a hair. Yeah, that's cool. All right, and then, so that's before I even add the displacements. So that's the displacement. Oop, not supported in sculpt mode, but we go back to object mode. Yeah, and then we add displacement, so then we get a little bit more, and we can actually probably turn that back a bit now. So yeah, we got a nice little displacement there, and then the displacement on the seams. So cool, so let's go back into render. Ooh, nice, very nice, cool. All right, and then I'm gonna pull this down just a little bit more, and I'm gonna create, I'm gonna actually make this our set, or this our rendering, and then this is where we can just kind of adjust stuff. By adjust stuff, I mean camera to align camera to view. Yay, okay, so we put the camera right there in front. And Shift C, do not delete, Shift C, Alt Home to center things, to get the center of the cursor. I'm gonna add a plane, or X90, RZ, scale Y, nope, scale Z. And you wonder what I'm doing with this thing? I'll show you in a minute. So we're gonna do 7. It's gonna be RXX, just so I can see it in the 7 mode. It's gonna be my light. So I'm gonna add a material to it, call it light. You know, make it an emission material. Give it a strength of, oh, I don't know, let's say 6. 6 is probably too bright. Let's do it 4. And we can actually do the background here. Maybe tone the background bound to like 1.1 or something, so the light has more faces to shine. Oh, that's really small. Sorry to mess with you guys there. Maybe 8. Put another one there. It's a nice kind of very informational lighting. Really see this. Maybe just a RZ, so you can just kick this at an angle a little bit, so it's just, you know, it's not quite so flat. Maybe tone these down to like, they're both at the same material, so we can tone them both down to like 5. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, you can, okay, that's kind of cool. I like that. All right, cool. So we're gonna do, actually I'm gonna tone down, the bump map may be coming through a little heavy. I think these seams may be coming through a little heavy. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm gonna kind of tweak the bump map in Illustrator and kind of re-export, and, you know, kind of tweak around also with the UV, the UV wrapping. But I'm just gonna speed right through it because, frankly, you know, you guys don't need to see the whole thing. But you know, you always want to tweak stuff, and you always keep going back and forth between Illustrator, Photoshop, whatever, and keep tweaking. So kind of going almost to the end of that, right? At some point. Yeah, let's hope so. All right. Oh, that's better. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's better. At least it gives, you know, you get a little ridge there, but yeah, because it's kind of going up a little bit. But that's not what, actually, that's not what we came to see. What we came to see was this. And then we're actually going to do Control B to just do, oop. Woo! That was crazy. Oh, we're in edit mode. Okay. We're going to go into view, object mode. And now we're just going to Control B out the, just that. And then, render. Let's do it at, let's just do, you know, get sampling to, yeah, render 128. Oh, let's do 200. And then, performance. Let's go to 128, 128. And, oh yeah, let's do the film as transparent. And, because we can do RGBA. And we don't have to do any compositing. And let's just go to GPU compute. And yeah, so we're going to hit And then I like to see a new window, so we're going to do that. And then... So while this renders, I just want to say, if you made it through this tutorial, thanks. This has been great. I hope you guys got something good out of this. And thanks for subscribing. A bunch of you have already subscribed, so please subscribe again if you want. All right. Thanks a lot.